Welcome and thank you for joining us as we take a short break from the semifinals in the Statenzaal of the Noord-Brabants Museum. My name is Anna Trombetta and I am the online presenter of this year's LiedDuo competition. I'm here tonight with composer Bart Visman and bass baritone Marc Pantus. They collaborated to bring you the IVC Liedprijs song for this year's competition, which all participants in the competition are required to present. Bart, Marc, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I have to say, this piece so uniquely captures the essence of how a performer, a singer feels as they're about to go on stage, while simultaneously being a pep talk, I find, for the singer themselves. How did you guys come up with this?
Marc.
Yeah. When we were asked to make this song, and I was thinking, well, you can say anything, you can, but I'd like to make it one thing, like the situation of the singer in which he is at that moment, and the song. And it's always nice to have, basically the song starts when it ends. The singer starts singing at the end of the song, which is I like. And we all know all the thoughts that you have before you start singing, especially because you never know if it's going to work. You only know that it's actually functioning while you do it.
Exactly.
And you have to sort of get acquainted with that feeling and with that uncertainty and sort of kind of embrace it. This is like something that has to be, you have to accept, and then maybe beauty can occur. So that was sort of the idea. And but basically I thought it was, if this is going to be a song for a competition, let's make a song that is completely linked to that situation.
Yeah, wonderful. Did you have a similar thought process, or was it a full collaboration, or did you have something else in mind?
Well, the collaboration was, as it always is, for a composer who writes songs, which is that the poem has to be there first.
Right.
It's, I think, very rare or non-existent that the poem was written afterwards. In this case, the point was, to me, that when you write for a competition, the text is usually something like Latin or English, obviously, because that's what most people know. But what is it to be about? And it's always about life, love, or death. But actually, so is this one, probably.
Oh, yes.
But it was important for me that it had everything to do with being on stage. And so, Marc and I have known each other for a while, and I knew that he would be able to write a poem that was fitting to the situation.
Absolutely.
Moreover, because certainly I was not going to write a song to frighten singers or to make, like a circus act of difficulties to overcome. No, the simplest song by Schubert is difficult.
Right.
But difficulties are all different. So I was just simply hoping to give something to contestants, something they could, like Marc said, embrace.
Exactly. That was going to be my next question. You can't make it too fluid. No, of course. Too fluid, too agile, let's say, too lyrical. So how do you go about composing for multiple people all at once, multiple voices all at once?
That's a question.
Well, yeah. I was looking for support. No, so here's the point. When difficulty means, for example, to write very fast, high notes, then that is wonderful for those voices, female voices usually, very rarely tenors, up there, and to surprise the audience with that sort of acrobatics. That is fine if you can do that, but not every voice by its nature, a bass, for example, if a bass could do that, sing, how do you call it? Coloratura. Yeah. If a bass can do that, it means something completely different. So I thought that wouldn't be fair. Also, I wasn't that interested. You know, like I said before, to keep it simple creates different difficulties to overcome. So I thought indeed to be lyrical.
Right.
Is what I really wanted. And of course, this is a lead duo. It is always duo. The pianist is never accompanist. So I was hoping to write music for two people.
Right, to give something to the duo itself, not just the singer. So I'm so intrigued by the title of this song, Het Goud van Vermeer, the gold of Vermeer. And I'm wondering where this title comes from, because it's...
This is, we've talked about like the situation and the meaning of everything, and about communication, but maybe most of the communication goes through tone. And the beauty of tone is very important, even though I like language and I like words and I like consonants, but still, you know, if you hear a song in Armenian, or, well, maybe if you're Armenian you can understand it, but sometimes you hear songs in a language you don't understand at all, and still you understand everything. That's through tone, I think. And if I think of the most beautiful and the most perfect tone, then I think of the way Vermeer paints gold. You have these very nice paintings where there's a lady at the Virginal, and then in the back you see a frame of a painting which is gilded, beautifully gilded. And the way that looks, that is my idea of the best and most beautiful tone. So that's how it came up. What was my idea? I once heard Renee Fleming sing it when I heard her for the very first time was in Ravinia, and I'd never heard her before. I didn't even know that she was so famous already, and I was so stunned by the beauty of this. It was just amazing. And she sang Strauss songs, and she held the last notes too long always, in a way that Strauss probably would have loved it, and it was just a beautifully golden egg shape.
Amazing.
Everything beautiful everywhere, and that was sort of my association.
Wow, I'm gonna have to go look at a Vermeer painting much more closely now.
Yeah.
My last question: you've said that there are 3 distinct voices used in the piece. So how did you imagine these voices coming to life? Did you picture them a certain way? Did you compose them differently per voice? How did that work?
Well, I can only say that I've thought of 3 different voices, basically, which is the voice of oneself, and then there is like good advice, and then there's other good advice, and they're basically opposite. And it's really up to him to make the sound, because once you give the text to a composer, it's gone, and it's out of my hands. And we did have quite some contact about this song in particular, but in the other songs that we collaborated on, we never talked. Never. I heard that and I thought, interesting. Sorry, this sounds very awful. Sorry. No, it was so. But here we did, and I also had to make it a little shorter because there was some it tends to be too lengthy. So once you give it to the composer, it's his thing, it's his interpretation, and I have nothing to do with it.
Although the poem remains in itself complete.
Yeah.
So the composer can mess it up, but he can only mess up the song, not the poem. It's very important.
So you didn't compose them a specific way for each voice that you saw?
Look, I really don't remember whether I had any specific thoughts. No, I guess I didn't miss it. However, what I realized was that there is a theatrical element in the poem.
Absolutely.
And I just simply realized that can be song as well. Der Tod und das Mädchen is the tiniest of tiny operas. So there is theater there. Not the theater with the stage and costumes, but the theater of the text and of the music. And there are 2 different voices there in one song. So actually the composer doesn't have to consider everything a problem, first of all. And I certainly trust Marc's poetry to know that it will speak for itself even through song. So you don't have to, pinpoint and to, put a thick black line on it. Can you hear this? This is different. And also, the singer can decide for themselves. The singers can decide for themselves whether to make 3 voices or whether to consider it one thought on 3 levels. Mm-hmm. Actually, the poem is printed in a way that creates this with different letter types and.
Right, there's some bold.
Yeah, and some bold and
right.
some cursive.
Yes, in brackets. So
in brackets. So yeah, quote unquote.
It's basically a sign, a street sign. The first one, that's how I imagined it, and the other one is someone who's sort of more whispering in your ear. That's how I thought of it. And of course, I did think this has to be something that has to be able to be sung by lead singers and opera voices. So I was thinking must make something that can move in different directions with different approaches.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, when I was reading the poem, there were lots of different theatrical things going through my head just from the poem itself. And then with the music next to it, I was like, oh, this would be so cool to do like this and this and this. Unfortunately, I won't be singing it this year.
Me neither.
But I'm sure you guys are very excited to hear it being performed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me, for taking the time to be here with me tonight. We will be right back with the second half of these semifinals at the 54th International Vocal Competition LiedDuo in s-Hertogenbosch.